Hi, welcome back. We're going to be talking about fundamentals of data privacy in this program. Introduction. One thing we would all agree with is data has become the most critical and important asset in many organizations. As a matter of fact, data is called the new gold. It's become so important because of the sensitivity of data within most organizations. The concept to define data as sensitive is subject to different regulation also. Many operations revolve around how this data is collected, used, shared within different organizations. Many practices are adopted by different organizations to make sure privacy of their clients, their customers are adequately protected. It's essential that all organizations understand this concept of data privacy, data protection, and data security. We'll get into the details much further down. It also involves the proper handling of those sensitive data to ensure the confidentiality and the accuracy of most of those data. The other thing we have to think about around privacy concern is also how and when is our data shared with third parties. The fact the data is being shared with the third party does not make us as an organization less liable. The liability is still on us. So it's on us to do our due diligence to ensure data is legally collected or stored within our client's environment. Some key regulation also immediately comes in depending on the industry or the specific need. We have different regulations like GDPR, EPA, GLBA, or CCPA for California. So there are many laws that is also applicable in many instances. The three states of data we need to always think about. One, data at rest. Two, data in transit. And thirdly, data in use. So what does it mean? Data at rest simply means that data is not being accessed and is stored on a physical or logical medium at any point in time. And it's not just the storage of the data, but to ensure that the data stored cannot be compromised at any point in time. Data in transit, data that travels through different means of communication, email, web, collaborative work application, like Teams, Slack, and so many instant messaging. We need to ensure it's going through a private or public communication channel. It has to go through appropriate security and tunneling. It has to go through appropriate encryption process end-to-end to ensure that the data is protected. Then data in use. This is when our data is open or applications are being consumed by our users. How do we ensure the security of this data is adequately protected? Okay. The key points we need to think about. Data privacy is centered around how the data is collected, stored, managed, shared with third parties, and also ensuring compliance with applicable laws within different organizations. So that is very important. For example, in the state of California, we have like California Consumer Privacy Act, which is a big one out there. Every state in the United States right now and other countries are implying and implementing different programs for privacy within their unique location. So it's very important. Wherever you handle data, wherever you store, manage, collect, classify your data, you need to understand the local laws also to be very successful. The industry also matter. We have the likes of health industry like EPA. We have in the financial sector like PCI. These are very significant regulation that can impact our industry at any point in time. So why is it important to have data privacy? In simple terms, asset management. How do we ensure the management and the collection of our critical asset, which is data now, is being followed in due processes? Do we have clearly defined data privacy policies that is being shared within the organization and constantly reviewed for update or changes within the regulatory framework? The second thing is, what about the regulatory compliance? How exactly is data managed? to ensure we are in compliance. And if there's a breach, what is the communication method to communicate to the appropriate regulators to avoid fine and embarrassment to our organization, and even lawsuits in some cases. So most organizations must meet all the legal responsibilities in terms of the collection of the data, the storage of the data, the process of personal data, the process of implementing and processing those data is very important also. The non-compliance can lead to reputational damage, loss of revenue, and it can really lead to huge fines for most organizations. So it's very critical to our environment also. Some of the steps to effective data privacy that is out there. Number one, the foundation. Creating the right policies to achieve and maintain data privacy is number one on the list. Appoint a data privacy officer or data protection officer who is responsible to ensure those policies are created, and privacy is a key priority for our organization. The next thing, create and implement a communication plan to socialize within the organization, to make it a cultural thing within your organization. Have an inventory of the organization database and understand what are the applicable laws, regulation, and the process of communication if there's a breach within your organization. Ensure that technical data security team aligns with the privacy policy adopted and developed by your organization. And of course, create a plan for regular evaluation of those privacy policy to constantly renew them as needed, make updates, changes as needed within your organization also. What are standards? In simple terms, they are defined as a set of administrative, physical, and technical action to protect the confidentiality, availability, and integrity of our information. Some of those privacy standards aim to protect an individual organizational right to determine whether, what, when, by whom, and for what purpose their protected information is collected, accessed, used, or disclosed within the environment. Some steps to protect our data. These are very important steps at the minimum. Think from an interview point of view. You are in a meeting or an interview, somebody say, hey, what are the steps to protect your data? Number one, apply software updates. All of us know that, yes, if there is no updates applied, recent updates, it can lead to vulnerability or breach of our information because some of the updates are security patches. Number two, password protection. That's a huge one for us. We need to ensure we have solid password policies and procedures in place to ensure that we have strong password, the way it's stored, to make sure that all our devices and our accounts, the password policies are applied. Encryption data. How do we ensure the right encryption is used to protect our data? Backup and recovery. If there is a need, a breach, do we have a backup mechanism for our data at any point in time? Control access is just to ensure only the appropriate users have access to our key and sensitive information at any point in time. There's the principle of least privilege, and to allow people on a need-to-know basis only before access is granted to them at any point in time. Data privacy versus data security. This has been a big twist out there, a lot of debate that what is the difference between the data privacy and data security. In simple terms, the data security tends to protect data from compromise from external attackers and malicious insiders within organizations. But the data privacy side of things focus mostly on governance on how the data is collected, shared, and used within our organization. So that is a big, significant difference between both of them. I know it's used interchangeably. It's kind of complement each other. We want to make sure we have our data security in place and the data privacy to help with the overall governance of our data at any point in time. Some 3 pillars of information security we are already familiar with most of the time: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality goes specific into how do we ensure all our sensitive information is not reaching the wrong people and making sure that the right people are the only ones that can use it. To ensure the confidentiality is there. Integrity is to maintain the consistency, the accuracy of the information we have to ensure no inappropriate users can make changes to those information that we have. Availability is to ensure that the information is always available as needed. This is huge in manufacturing. We don't want the plant to be obstructed at any point in time. So it's a huge deal at any point in time. Data protection is the force behind right to privacy. Despite recent advances in privacy and the regulations and all of that, there are still a lot of, movement here and there, meaning there are times you see, consumer privacy is regularly invaded despite all the advances we've made. So many agencies capture data without the right authorization and approval. So that is a big scandal out there. You can have data protection without data privacy, but most time you cannot have data privacy without data protection. So that is huge, huge, huge at all times. We should always take note of that. And that's it for now. Thank you. See you in the next class.